I see three kind of groups of folks interacting, or when it comes to AI right now, like three kind of, you've got the early adopters out there testing the limits and then figuring out the adoption piece. How do we get this adoption happening and really get this embedded? Then I see a group that's out there also testing, trying, failing to get that adoption right, not seeing the results they thought, and are rethinking and trying to figure out why. Then there's a group that just aren't sure and are still sitting on the fence. The problem with that last group, because I understand the rationale behind that, the problem with the last group is you're a little behind. But when the middle group that's struggling with the adoption figures out the adoption, they catch up with the first group. And the gap between you and those other two groups is growing. And just as you said a moment ago, what this will look like in 6 months will make this look primitive. That growth, that pace is happening so fast, the gap between you and the others gets deeper, wider, and probably still harder to then figure out and leverage. When I think about helping schools adapt and adopt other AI and find the right use cases for them, sometimes those use cases that they start out of the gate, they have this really big idea in mind. I try to pull them back initially. First, let's start with something much smaller so that you can see the impact yourself directly and you start to understand it. And then our AI readiness becomes greater. And the greater it gets there, the more likely it would be for me to help myself and my team adopt it. I know anytime I get adoption where I want it to be, the ability to grow to the next thing, to grow and go to the next thing is easier to do. And so if you're still on the fence, start playing. Because one of the things I liked about this querying piece, the first thing that you showed, I can't tell you the number of times, and this is me and my specific personality type. If I didn't have the ability to figure that out before AI to run that on analysis, I wouldn't ask someone to do it for me because I know they've got so much on their plate. And so I just let it go. All these questions that I had that I never asked and never got an answer to, that just sat and died because I didn't want to add something else to someone's plate who was already full. I don't have to do that anymore because now AI doesn't have a full plate. I can ask that and think about that curiosity. Think about the questions that are just way out there that might take you 10 other questions to ask before you even think of that extra one that gives you that little piece of knowledge and that little nugget that you can really leverage to understand who those 286 people that are the high priorities. Just start diving and asking questions. The ability to have that opportunity that you just didn't have before, that's going to be a separator for folks. And you'll never get that if you don't start investigating, taking a few steps in and playing around. That is just so essential to this.
Totally agree. Very well said.